All right, so when you first open up Blender, you'll see on the splash page the different options you can have for interactions with Blender. So under shortcuts, you have all of these different options: industry compatible or Blender. We're going to stay with Blender. We're going to keep the select with left mouse button, and then we're going to do the space bar for the search feature. Then keep the dark theme, and we're going to hit next. And that's pretty much going to see to the default splash page after that. This is the page you'll see now every time you open Blender. So we're going to click off of this, where you'll find the default 3D scene with the default cube. This window will allow you to move around in your 3D space and set up your 3D scene. Now let's start changing some interactions. So we're going to go to Edit, Preferences, and you'll see all of these different options that we have available for editing the user interface here in Blender. In these preferences, you can edit the theme, the viewport. Again, these viewport options, all of this is editable. You know, you can hit these drop downs, the lights. Again, editing. We're going to turn on material, particle, and volume. So when we are doing duplicate data, we can duplicate that data as well. I like to keep that. And you have some drop down options. We're going to keep them at default, but you could change them if you like. Animation as well. You have options to change them to your liking. We don't change any of these. We keep them at default. So then we're going to go into add-ons. Okay, so add-ons is one of those things that new users really don't know about when using Blender. So we're going to start to toggle some of these options on, like 3D view or 3D navigation. Essentially allows you to navigate the camera and 3D viewport from the sidebar. So we're going to add like little add-ons that makes the interaction so much better. So we're going to go down the list of add-ons we do. So as we add the actual add-ons to our scene or to our file, you can see that it increases the tabs. We have tabs over here that you'll start to notice that it'll add more tabs. So we're going to try to reduce the amount of tabs over here, but have the most options available. We're going to turn on this tool for measuring objects and this math visualization tool, so it'll show it in the console. This 3D view as well. We don't necessarily need it, but the 3D view stored views, so we're going to keep the stored views. We're going to do this 3D VR view, but that allows you to see, use Oculus Rift or something to see your actual render scenes. I actually turned it back off, mainly because it's popping up the new tab on the side. So some of these you'll start to notice like the tab will pop up on the side. So essentially I'm gonna just go down the list, and again, if you click or do the drop down menu and click and hold, it'll tell you exactly what these do. So I'm gonna try my best to just remember everything these do at the same time. So like bolt factory is where you can add different types of nuts and bolts when you are just creating models. So instead of just the typical mesh, it'll also have like bolts that you can add. We're going to do some of these animation ones here. Just toggle these on, and again, you can see when we toggle it on, if it adds that extra tab, I'm pretty much just not adding it. And we'll go back again over this and see which ones we want to add later on as well. But this is just a good starter. So we're essentially just adding all of the different options that we can without increasing the number of buttons in our scene. And of course, some of the things that we won't use at all. So this area I would consider very important to import and export. Whatever programs you're going to use, you want to be able to import or export from and into those programs. So you want to consider that when you are toggling these on and off. So you see we have import, export camera animation. We're going to go ahead and toggle that on. AutoCAD, just in case we're working with an AutoCAD file, we can import those into the scene. Point cache information, again, we can import these into the scene. AutoCAD, again, DXF formats, we're going to do that as well. Different brush sets, images and planes is very important, so you can drag and drop from your desktop images and it will create a plane. That's a super important one. All of these are already on, so we're just going to keep these import exported checked on. Now the interface 3D viewport pie menu is very important as well. If you hold tab, it'll give you all the different pie options. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on. So As we click these, I'm not sure if I want them or don't. But again, sometimes when you're working and you think there's a tool that's not available, you can come here and kind of toggle some stuff on to see if it's still available. I'm mainly checking these on right now because I'm noticing that it's not adding an extra tab. So, you know, when we get deeper into a menu, then it'll show these options. So you see this dynamic light is adding an extra tab. Lighting try lighting, doesn't, material, library, all of these, we're going to just toggle these on. Now, as you know, we do a little bit of 3D printing, so we more than likely will toggle that back on, but for now, we're just going to leave that off. But you saw the little tab pop up when we hit 3D print. Let's continue on. I'm not sure if we need the mesh B surface or not. Let's do the auto mirror, and you see the edit pops up when we do the auto mirror. I might add that a little later. I'm not sure right now. Let's just do the loop tools. Snap utilities line. And you can pretty much just copy exactly what I'm doing. Selecting everything, all of the default options that don't add that extra tab. And then we'll go back in and then, you know, if we need to add the additional ones, we can. But you can always get to some of this stuff through the menu. Now this part is also super important. This node arrange and node presets and node wrangler, very important when we're doing our shaders. So you definitely want to make sure you toggle these on. These are one of the more important things. So node wrangler, definitely want to toggle that on at all times. Object align tool, again, these are all modeling things you can add. And as you see, these are options within the transform options. So it's not adding an extra tab, but it's adding an extra more options that are over here by these tabs. So see, you have the bool tools here under edit, right? And these are all the options inside of edit. So that's essentially what we're adding, like these extra options inside of the tabs that we already have. See, I added an extra tab. You see that the grease pencil tab? It's an extra tab. Now, grease pencil is a great tool, but we're not going to add that because I don't necessarily want an extra tab right now. You can always add it later, you know, as it comes up that you need it. And actually, I'm going to just leave it here just so you can start to see how big that tabs list will get. Object scatter is a good one as well. Skinify. Rig is also a good one when you're getting into rigging. We're going to copy the render settings, be able to copy render settings. We're going to go ahead and select export SVG so you can export SVGs. Now, I'm not entirely sure what this POV at Ball is, so we're going to click the drop down and it says Persistence of Vision add-on for Blender. So I don't think I need this, but again, just like I did this, if you want to know what one thing is, just hit that drop down arrow and it'll show you a description. UI animation render, we're going to go rigify for sure. That's so you can add your rigs or create your rigs easily for your characters or whatever. And I don't think, well, definitely UV magic. Yeah, I would say we don't need anything, but definitely UV magic, you need that. Scene information, it's always nice to have that. And then refine your tracking tools. That's definitely if you want to do some camera tracking and compositing onto, you know, video footage. And I want to say that's all for that we need. And you see it's a whole list of things that we added. I'm going to go ahead and add this auto mirror back, some of this other mesh stuff back, since we have the edit tool anyway, or the edit tab anyway. So we're just going to add this to that tab, or add this, and you can see now under that edit tab we have all of these different options in comparison to when I showed you before and it was only the bool tool. And again, when you have these options, you get to drop down and kind of see what you can do within those options. So these are all the interactions that you can do for those different options that you set. So again, we're adding extra tabs, and you see it gets longer and longer and longer the more tabs you add. That's why I kind of start off with which tabs are not going to be added and then kind of figure it out. So this lighting tab I don't think is necessary, but we'll just get rid of it, right? And let's see if there's anything else, since we have the edit tab open or all these other tabs open, that we can add without having to add another tab. We were definitely keeping a 3D print because, as you know, we like to 3D print some of our models. So we're just going to keep this, but you see all of the different options that it'll help you when you're preparing your object to be 3D printed. All right, so we have these add curves. We can just, some of these do not add an extra tab. Some of them do, so we're just gonna find which ones don't and just check them on. I'm kind of tempted to keep this VR scene, but because now I know that it's here, I can always just come back and add it later. But we'll just keep it for now. So we have all of the add-ons I think we're going to add, and this is a good starting point for any new Blender user. So we're going to go finish the preferences by input. So these are some of the options that I like to keep for input. So emulate a 3-button mouse. And again, I'm coming from like a Maya environment, so I like to kind of keep it similar. Orbit around selected. So when you rotate around the selected. We're going to go ahead and check on the depth as well. And instead of walk, we're going to do fly. So we just navigate around the scene differently. You could set it to walk and it would act more as a video game where you can walk, just like it'll move, the camera will move a lot slower when you're using the arrows. But for now, we're going to do fly. Key map, again, we're going to go to the left for selection. For the space bar, we're going to make that a search. For the gizmos, we're going to have that as a drag. None of this is really going to change. Besides tab for pie menu, we're going to select that. Pie menu on drag. Let's test it out. I think I'm used to tab for pie menu. I'm just kind of seeing if I've done this before, but not 100% sure how that drag to pie menu work. And the main reason I'm thinking of just going with tab to pie menu, or how I landed on tab to pie menu, is mainly because in the middle of modeling, I would end up opening the pie menu when I'm just trying to model. So this is essentially the pie menu. So we want to do that. When we hit tab, it'll open up. Extra shading on pie. Let's see, we do it again. Hit tab. The shading looks very similar, but again, kind of testing this on the fly to see what this looks like at y'all's expense. Okay, and we're going to just turn that off because I don't know what it is. Make sure your GPU is set, for rendering, so your computer will be at peak performance that is possible. And you can just go through all of these options if you want to. I keep them at default. Save and load, I keep it default pretty much. And file paths are default. So that's pretty much the Blender preferences that I would say for this. And once you found what you like, just go ahead and save your preferences in the menu down here, and it'll save your preferences. Then you can click out, exit out, and all your preferences will be saved and ready for you to model in the fashion that you like modeling. Okay, so in the middle of setting up my default scene, I forgot to mention that we can do key maps. These are all your shortcuts that you would like to have for your actual interaction or interface. Again, you have all of these different options. If you go to key maps and you see where it says Windows, screen, view 2D, and all of these other drop downs, they would actually consist of all of the different shortcut keys that you can use to achieve a goal. Now, one thing you could do, like I do, is just search for what you want to do. So what I'm looking for is to focus on selected. I'm used to hitting F in Maya, and once you hit F, it kind of focuses on what you have selected, but in Blender, it's period. So we're gonna change everything from the numpad period to F. And you can find these things by, searching the name as you see on the left side, by searching it by the name of the field. And you see everything that's frame selected is numpad plus sign, right? But I want to find out what everything that's assigned as F now. So you can go to key binding, and if you have F in the search field, it'll show everything that's already assigned as F. Now, essentially, I want to just hit F. I don't want to hit Control F or Alt F. So anything that's labeled as F, you can put to Control F. That's what I'm going to do, but you can do it however you want to do it. Whatever work, that you'll remember works best for you. So I'm going to Control F these, all of these Fs. Now all of the F's are gone. We want to go back to name, frame selected, and then everything that's numpad plus, we're going to push for F. So F. We're going to keep control numpad plus, just everything that's numpad plus is going to be F. And I want to say that's it. So boom, there you have it. Just X out of it. You don't have to save it or anything. And now all of your interactions, you can hit F when you have something selected, and it'll automatically focus on what you have selected. Just like that.